control work that had gone to the Hackman residence, um, and and he noticed that they weren't home, which was odd, I guess, in as far as he was concerned. He made contact with a security officer that was there, either patrolling or in the subdivision, and then it was the security officer that went to the house and had discovered um, the individuals in the home.
You guys are ruling out foul play, though.
We're not ruling it out. What I did state was there was no obvious sign or indication of a foul play. There was no immediate sign of foul play. Haven't ruled that out yet. This is an investigation, so we're keeping everything on the table. I think the autopsy is going to tell us a lot, and any evidence that we collect, but I haven't ruled any of that out yet.
Um, can you talk about the carbon monoxide aspect? I know they tested for that.
Yeah, so obviously it's not I wouldn't say odd, but it's not normal to find two people deceased in a residence. That's concerning. And then there was also a dog that was in a kennel that was also found deceased. We don't
And a friend of mine shared some pictures of a conference going on there right now, and it looks just extraordinary. So if you have not been to a Gaylord property, so much fun. You literally don't have to leave the property for food and drink and networking, and they do an exceptional job of really making everyone comfortable for their stay. But March should be beautiful temperature-wise for everyone in the Lone Star State throughout North Texas. So we look forward to being at that live there with you at Right Side Broadcasting Network, which I'm sure will be another star-studded event and the premier conference in the conservative movement, CPAC. Always a wonderful time to attend that and break bread with the many contacts and friends and family members that we enjoyed our time there with just 1 week ago. And that's really what it's like. I mean, it's been an amazing time for me personally throughout my career, going to these different events and these conferences. CPAC for me is, relationships that have been there for 10 years, 15 years, going back in my own career. So it's always wonderful to see where everyone's, where they're working, what they're working on, and everywhere they've been throughout the movement. So thank you again to Matt and Mercedes Schlapp for hosting just an extraordinary conference year in and year out. And we look forward to that next year in March of 2026. But right now we are awaiting the live shot outside of the West Wing here at the White House. President Trump is enjoying lunch with UK's Prime Minister as they talk many different topics, including the freedom of speech, something that the United Kingdom has really changed on. You think back to the 13th century and Magna Carta and those individual rights that really in so many ways inspired our own nation as we broke away from Great Britain in the 18th century to be an independently governed nation, a constitutional republic, that certain inalienable rights of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness were to be adhered to because they are of God, they are from God, not the government. And our founding fathers making that picture perfect clear. And you think back to their times, to what we're experiencing now here in the United States of this woke progressive cancer known as the far left movement. However you want to categorize it, as a deep state, as a globalist movement, it sure is suffering as its last screams into the night are ending, because President Trump and his team have been working around the clock to make America healthy again, make America safe again, make America strong again, and ultimately make America great again, because at the end of the day, it's all about common sense. It's traditional conservative Republicans and liberal Democrats who have come together. Think of those like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. Can you imagine 4 years ago them being on the same team with President Trump? I mean, even Bobby Kennedy initially ran against President Trump, starting in the Democrat primary to take on President Biden and bring the Democrat Party back to more of a mainstream, middle-of-the-road liberal party. Well, that did not happen. We saw that the Democrat leaders really cut the legs out under President Biden, someone who received 18 million votes in the primary, and they handed the reins over to Kamala Harris, and she was an absolute disaster. And we hope that the Golden State of California can see right through her, as she might be interested in running for governor of California. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep tabs on that for you here live at Right Side Broadcasting Network. But my goodness, we have gone past the progressive movement into constitutional governance once again. And President Trump looking to lead on that and bringing great people, independent thought leaders like Bobby Kennedy along for that as well. You know, Mr. Kennedy said he prayed for 20 years to make a difference for the health and the chronic illness epidemic facing America. And he said back in August at that Turning Point USA summit with President Trump there, as he endorsed him, you know, God brought me Donald Trump, and they are making a difference to save this country, especially the chronic illness epidemic. And Mr. Director, that sponsor one more time. Excellent. Thank you so much. Angelpaste.com, an extraordinary miracle cream, along with other products that trust me, you will love this group of people. They are a Christian-based company outside of Spring, Texas. You know, that's along the Gulf of America, not far from the beautiful city of Houston. and so many options right there for you. They actually have a natural repellent moisturizer that doesn't let those mosquitoes, those buggers, get on you, especially as we get into the warmer months here with spring around the corner and then, of course, summer. But the Angel Paste Miracle Cream itself, I have tried here on the network, and those vitamin Bs and the non-GMO, the non-chemicals, truly a natural topical ointment will make your hands just feeling great. Whether you're a guy or a gal, doesn't matter. And guys, it's got this great acid spray, this black bottle, that will make you still feel manly, but also be prepared for your day and impress those ladies out there with that acid spray to use on your face. So trust me on this one, angelpaste.com. They also have a great orange option that brings in all of these immune good nutrients for you and for your skin. So please visit angelpaste.com, Christian-based, they hire veterans, made in the USA, non-GMO, no chemicals in there, all natural. A great supporter of Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Thank you for supporting the network as we seek to get rid of all those dry hands in the waning days of winter, hopefully. You know, here live in Auburn, Alabama, a beautiful day outside, sunny and in the 70s. So we hope you're enjoying some of that sunshine as we are all smiles, roughly 40 days into the new administration, awaiting President Trump as he's having lunch right now with the UK Prime Minister, Mr. Starmer. And these gentlemen have very different ideologies on speech rights, on individual liberties, on everything that's happening with the migrant crisis, including what's taking place in the UK. Very sad, as many in the federal government in the United Kingdom really abandoning those principles that made this one of the finest nations in all of the world. But President Trump and the UK Prime Minister really being very diplomatic today in the Oval Office, and we'll see what they have to say as we are awaiting a press conference live with them. I'm sure addressing many of the issues at hand throughout the world, including potentially ending the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which has now faced the 3-year anniversary back on Monday. We hope and pray that that does come to an end. And you might be wondering, United Kingdom, Great Britain, Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and then Ireland itself. What does this all mean? This doesn't make any sense. Let me break that down for you. So the United Kingdom includes 4 nations: England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Of course, the island of Ireland in and of itself, 36 counties, but 2 separate nations. So Northern Ireland, those 6 counties that broke off that are mostly Protestant in nature, are aligned with the United Kingdom. Those other 30 counties are the separate Irish Republic, the Republic of Ireland. So a totally separate nation, although these Germanic peoples take up most of Northwest Europe. So if that makes sense for you, if you're looking at a map, it will make more sense there. Great Britain in and of itself are the 3 countries of Scotland, England, and Wales. So when you hear the different terms or see the different flags, I hope that makes more clarity for you. So the flags you'll see today with the Union Jack and the blue, the red, white, and blue, in fact, is that of the United Kingdom. So this Mr. Starmer, the Prime Minister for the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That's the proper title. So some history for you right there. But they've been friends with us for many, many years now, a couple of centuries, in fact, as we look to secure the Western world against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But both leaders, of course, have gone down very different ideological routes. So it'll be interesting to watch what they come up with today, addressing all of the threats worldwide, but especially what seems to be a shared goal of ending the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And of course, President Trump will be meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, tomorrow at the White House, and that will bring him to 8 world leaders that he has addressed from the West Wing in the Oval Office. Of course, then moving to the East Room traditionally for that press conference where media in press pool will be addressing President Trump and the leader of the UK and other leaders that have visited in regards to all of the developments, whether it comes to investments in the United States or their respective countries, as well as the hot topics of today. And we're just about to approach the 3 o'clock hour. At the top of the hour. Very excited to see President Trump meeting with UK Prime Minister Starmer as we look towards that 3 o'clock hour. It's an exciting time here in Washington, D.C. as we have seen the MAGA agenda on full display with President Trump focused on making America healthy again, making America safe again, and ultimately making America safe and great again. So we are very interested to see these developments as the cabinet yesterday met with the media and President Trump addressing them, being very hopeful and optimistic and satisfied with those people he has selected to help serve with him. You know, it's important to make sure scammers don't get a hold of your home title. Very important to do. So the FBI calls it house stealing, and it's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document. They use a fake notary stamp, and they pay a small fee and file it at the local recorder's office. Just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. And if you can't think of anything scarier, they will then take out loans using your equity as collateral or even sell property behind your back. And you won't even know it's happening. It's all invisible until you start getting collection and foreclosure notices. So let me ask you, when was the last time you decided to check your home title? I know it's been important in my family and with my own properties as well. So if you're like me, the answer is never, ever, ever. So that's exactly what scammers are counting on, you to not pay attention to what's happening with your own property. That's why I trust Home Title Lock, and their $1 million triple lock protection helps keep your home and equity safe. Here's what you get: an immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and if fraud should happen, they're in the U.S.-based restoration team. They can fix and spend up to $1 million to fix that fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. That's a huge savings. And here's the best part. I've teamed up with the Home Title Lock to give you a free title history report so you can find out if you're a victim. And you can have access to a personal title expert up to a $250 value just for signing up. So go to HometitleLock.com and use my promo code here, RSBN, easy to remember, for peace of mind. Make sure you check the $1 million triple lock protection details that you can get out there. So that is the home protection you need today. HometitleLock.com/RSBN. That is HometitleLock.com/RSBN. And you can make sure that you have that peace of mind, protection for the most valuable assets from scammers, your home. So be sure to visit that today or scan that QR code right there on your screen. Thank you to HometitleLock.com/RSBN. And there's a live shot now of the East Room. President Trump meeting with UK Prime Minister Starmer as they are enjoying some lunch with their respective teams. The Vice President as well in attendance, as well as the Secretary of State and some other cabinet officials. And I'm sure we'll be joined by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt in the room there where it happens, that East Room. So important to see these two great world leaders with so much on their table, gentlemen who are very separate on the ideological spectrum, but seeking to have common ground and peace and security throughout the Western world. A huge goal as we look to not only end the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but make sure that China does not advance in its prowess in the next few weeks and months, as you know, they're definitely licking their wounds after President Trump has been in office for roughly 40 days now, really putting America first and working with our allies around the world to strengthen the peace initiative. And you can see there they are testing their mics, getting ready for both world leaders as the Stars and Stripes and the Union Jack stand boldly and proclaim liberty and freedom for people throughout the world. Although, as Vice President Vance brought up in the Oval Office meeting, he will not be afraid to advance peacefully and patriotically, of course, American values such as freedom of speech, such as our Bill of Rights. Something that's changed for the citizens of the UK recently with this move to the far left, these open borders that some leaders like Mr. Starmer and the London mayor have endorsed in recent weeks and the last couple of years. So we'll definitely keep an eye on those tabs as we are seeking to make America safe, strong, healthy, and great again. The best way to do that is to really share our values abroad. It's not by nation building like George W. Bush and Barack Obama wanted to do. It's not by droning everyone unconstitutionally and starting wars throughout the world or funding upheavals like in Benghazi, but rather it's about making sure peace and prosperity come to every citizen through dialogue and meeting with world leaders. I think back to President Trump in the first term with Little Rocket Man in North Korea. They were going back and forth, sending letters to one another at times, even teasing one another. That led to a great friendship and great dialogue with Kim Jong-un. And one of the highlights for me when I was at the inauguration on January 20th at the Commanders-in-Chief Ball, the U.S. Command in South Korea, and saying, "Welcome back, President Trump. Thank you for stepping up to serve once again." And President Trump asking the commander all the way in South Korea, "How's Kim Jong-un doing?" before he took that big saber and cut the cake to continue the celebrations that took place there. And what an amazing roughly 40 days it has been for the new administration. Almost all of the cabinet is in place with the exception of labor, education, and the UN ambassador, still waiting for confirmation votes from the United States Senate. But President Trump having great success with the Republican-led U.S. Senate and many of his nominees getting incredible resounding advice and consent from the U.S. Senate. I think about people like Secretary Doug Burgum at Interior. That was an 80-17 vote. How about Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State? Perhaps the best Secretary of State in recent memory with his trips to South America, Central America, Saudi Arabia as well for the peace and prosperity of the world, a 99-0 vote. Great success. And you know, it really doesn't matter. I mean, like Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, really underwent a great test of just a smear campaign from the far left and needed that tie-breaking vote from Vice President Vance to get over that 50-50 threshold of 51. And Mr. Vance joking as well, "I didn't think I had to vote on the Senate so soon, or in the Senate, to get that over the hump." But Pete Hegseth doing an extraordinary job over at the DOD. And how exciting is it to have cabinet members and officials who are beholden to you, the American people, and to press, because even Pete having many times where he actually just uses his cell phone with his comms director to send out a message to you, the American people. You don't have to wait for necessarily a formal press conference or anything of the like. This administration is very focused on being transparent, in fact, being the most transparent office in American history. We now see the UK delegation coming in, the diplomats from the Great Kingdom who had just had lunch with President Trump and our diplomatic team. So they are coming into the room there. I'm sure we'll be followed by our American counterparts and our team focused so much on the relationship of two great nations who really lead the world in so many different ways. When America speaks, when the United Kingdom speaks, the world listens. These are two of the strongest militaries in the entire world. And, you know, two democracies who have stood the test of time, who once fought with one another, and we gained their independence from this great civilization. But that has all changed now. We have been good friends for the last 2 centuries, focused on those common values of liberty and patriotism and unity, fraternity, that have stood the test of time. And so much so that King Charles has invited President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump to join the Queen Camilla as well in a state dinner. So we look forward to seeing that here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, a date to be set in the near future, but the Prime Minister bringing that correspondence to President Trump in the Oval Office. And, you know, a strong sign of leadership, President Trump opened that letter. He did not read it out loud. He read it quietly and then made sure that His Majesty the King's signature was on that piece of paper. and then graciously allowed the Prime Minister to extend to the media what that letter was all about. So something President Trump has learned over the years, being the consummate deal maker that he is. And I'm sure that will be a star-studded gala, a state dinner between the United States and the United Kingdom forthcoming. Perhaps that will be President Trump's first international trip. We will keep on those tabs right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And if you're joining us now, you know that we are on the right side of history, and so are you, the American people, who are so interested in engaging your government on a local level, on a state level, on a national level. And you know us here for our coverage of all of the rallies, but in the last 2 months, we have truly become your go-to live desk. We bring you unbridled access to speeches, to presentations, to the Oval Office, to the East Room, as you're looking at right now, when President Trump invites world leaders to dialogue with. So keep tuned in to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, and you will not miss any of the action if you sign up for the free newsletter, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter, and by liking, sharing, and subscribing to all of our content throughout various social media platforms, whatever your favorite is. My personal favorite, Truth Social. I have somewhat of a bias with that wonderful organization because I once served in their ranks, and they're doing amazing jobs there. If you're watching the news, they're doing some amazing things with the media prowess and with new investments. So we look forward to our continued partnership with Truth Social because they broadcast all these different platforms, the new media, highlighting especially us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So be sure to tune in there, or whether it's X or Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, it's all over the place. I mean, the new media is all about free speech, and we know that White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pledged from that first press conference that she will be very accessible not only to the media but to the American people, and that President Trump truly is the greatest spokesperson for the White House. We know this to be true as he is preparing for a great press conference with the UK Prime Minister coming up in moments here, roughly 11 minutes after the 3 o'clock hour on the East Coast. They're live at the White House in Washington, D.C. And we are looking at all the developments happening throughout the end of the week here. President Trump will be live with Vladimir Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine, who had requested a meeting with President Trump and will be in attendance tomorrow. So we are keeping tabs on that, and I'm sure that that might be discussed here live at this press conference with the UK Prime Minister forthcoming. President Trump has had 20 of his appointees confirmed by the United States Senate. So a perfect 20-0, and we'll see what will happen regarding Linda McMahon over at Education, and also the UN ambassador forthcoming, Elise Stefanik, who has done just extraordinary work as a young leader in Congress, and then also former United States Representative Lori Chavez DeRemer out of Oregon for Secretary of Labor. This is an extraordinary pick for President Trump because she has strong labor ties, and he is inviting labor unions and leaders in that world to come to the table. And we know that from the International Teamsters President Sean O'Brien, the first member of that union to address a Republican National Convention in 121 years. And that was back in July in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that was a great speech that we could probably play for you in the near future here if we go back into recent memory, because that was a historical moment for the convention, for President Trump, for Sean himself, who was really touched by having the ability to address that great convention back in July of last year. And we are awaiting the United States officials, the diplomats, including the Vice President, the Secretary of State, and also those other leaders to join President Trump with the UK counterparts. I'd like to thank our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Audio and Hearing, you know, there are 1.5 billion people worldwide who have hearing loss. And many of them don't even know they have it. It's really a sad thing. But if you often asked to repeat yourself or sometimes feel tuned out of the conversation, your only option is to spend thousands of dollars on prescription hearing aids. Well, not anymore. Audion Hearing is changing that with their revolutionary new over-the-counter hearing aids that start at only $189 a pair. They have over 1 million happy customers at Audion Hearing. If you visit audionhearing.com/RSBN, you don't need to take a hearing test. You don't need a prescription. Instead, they've delivered door-to-door coverage in just a few days. So Audion hearing aids are tiny, rechargeable, sound great, and don't look like the traditional bulky hearing aids. Audion is a proud American company with over 1 million happy customers, as I mentioned. So if you're looking for an affordable, high-quality solution to help you reconnect with loved ones and hear the things you're missing out on, visit audionhearing.com/RSBN, or why don't you give them a call there, 800-329-5079. That's 800-329-5079. audionhearing.com/RSBN. It's time to hear again. The leader in the over-the-counter hearing aids. I mean, $189, it's a lot less than hundreds of thousands. So why don't you go there, audionhearing.com/RSBN. And we are looking live at the East Room, awaiting a White House press conference between your 47th president, Donald J. Trump, and the UK Prime Minister, Mr. Starmer, as they look to tackle what's a world that is crumbling in many ways thanks to past leadership of the UK and also past leadership of the United States under that goofball, Joe Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, as we like to aptly name him. President Trump bringing that up again at the CPAC speech. And, one of the highlights of that speech, I thought that was really quite profound. President Trump stopping to say that he wants his legacy to be that of peace. He wants to be remembered as the peacemaker. And we know that one of the hot topics today with UK leadership, the peace of Ukraine and Russia to end this godforsaken war that has gone on for now 3 years, something that's led to the death of 1.5 million Ukrainians and Russians combined. And such a sad thing as we look at. Our prayers are with both people. These are two incredible cultures, and whatever you feel about their leadership and their governments, which are in many ways totalitarian and anti-free speech, the people of Ukraine and Russia are good people with great traditions, and we hope to see peace and prosperity for them with the peacemaker in chief, President Donald John Trump, at the helm. And he will be meeting tomorrow with Vladimir Zelensky of the Ukraine as we get a live shot there of the East Room. This, for me personally, probably one of my favorite rooms where we've seen so many great traditions take place, whether it is the National Governors Association, which had dinner Saturday night with President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, and then, of course, some entertainment from the bands that followed up. You could actually see a great replica of this room in Yorba Linda, California, at the Nixon Library. So if you're in the West Coast and visiting along Orange County's beautiful palm trees and glorious Pacific Ocean sites, be sure to visit Yorba Linda, somewhat inland, but the hometown of Richard Milhous Nixon, a great replica of the East Room. But what about those White House tours as well? Be sure to visit whitehouse.gov/tours, as First Lady Melania Trump, her first initiative to set that up for those wanting to come visit, their property. It's your property, my friends. The White House. It is the people's house. It's a museum. It's a residence. It's where the executive branch does business, and where President Trump works day in and day out to preserve life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and our founding documents for you, the American people, but also a place to go visit and to delight in what is truly an incredible residence. And just some of the goings on at the White House, the First Lady's office announcing the annual Easter egg hunt. Today they did that. So if you want to visit or if you want to volunteer, make sure you get that form in by March 19th. You can find this all on the White House's website, whitehouse.gov. but Easter Monday after Resurrection Sunday, April 21st, 2025. A great day to celebrate with you and your families if you are in Washington, D.C. The president will be on hand, the First Lady and staff enjoying the annual Easter egg roll. It will be the 147th edition. It was first started by President Rutherford B. Hayes, and something that is to be enjoyed by the entire family, especially those who are 13 years and younger. So those younger members of the family joined by parents, please feel free to enjoy that at the White House on April 21st, 2025, Easter Monday. We're going to toss to a quick commercial break, but stay with us here live at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer, who will have a live press conference from the East Room. I'm Robert McNeely. We'll be right back on the other side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Parents, do your kids know what courage really means? It's about standing up for America even when there's a target on your back. That's why Mike Huckabee's team created the Kids Guide to the Courage of the President. This important guide tells kids everything they need to know about President Trump's unwavering courage, and you can get it for free. With your free order, you'll receive free bonus gifts, including the Kids Guide to President Trump and a Christmas ornament commemorating Trump's call for us to fight. Get it all for free at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Families across the nation have arrived at a heartbreaking crossroad to surrender their beloved animals at alarming rates due to inflation and soaring costs of living.
There are so many overcrowded shelters. So many dogs need a home, but it's all of us working together to solve this crisis.
This fight requires both doers and dollars. Join us at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. Please sign up today.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. I'm Robert McNeely as we await a press conference between President Trump and UK's Prime Minister Starmer, two men who are on ideologically different paths but have a common goal of securing the United States and the UK against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Very curious to see what they have to say, especially in regards to the Russia-Ukraine conflict that will hopefully be coming to an end after 3 years. Interesting developments today. We've had Attorney General Pam Bondi yesterday mentioning that she will release the Epstein files. We're keeping an eye on all of that. And if you follow DC Drano, who's been someone who's really been in the middle of a number of different fights in D.C. and for the transparency movement over the last decade. He said, according to X, "Today I met with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and FBI Director Kash Patel in the Oval Office. They handed me a binder of the Epstein files. This is the most transparent administration in American history." And he asked, "The best part? This is just the start." AG Pam Bondi confirmed there are thousands more Epstein files documents being secretly held in the SDNY, and they will be delivered to the DOJ in D.C. by February 28th, so that's tomorrow. People will be going to jail for what they've done. So buckle up, folks. It's according to D.C. Drano and Pam Bondi yesterday, saying that just some of these people were absolutely disgusting for the practices that they did, and they should be held to the highest extent, the furthest extent of the law. Unfortunately, given what I've seen in my career, I've helped with some anti-trafficking efforts at different organizations. It's just horrible to think that the modern slave trade, anyone would sell a child into sex or labor trafficking. They deserve the worst punishment. Of course, peacefully and patriotically, we are all under the laws of the land, innocent until proven guilty, but justice is coming, and that's thanks to you. The mandate you've been given, the American people gave that to President Donald Trump on November 5th of 2024, Liberation Day. It will forever be remembered as a turning point for the American constitutional republic. We no longer live in a post-constitutional era because of people like Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and Joe Biden and Barack Obama. We don't need that. We don't need a globalist deep state think tank running the office. We need a leader who cares about America first, and that's President Donald Trump and his team. That cabinet meeting for the first time together yesterday, really taking some good questions from the media, which, have you noticed that? All of a sudden, since President Trump's been in office, I've been noticing more robust, more fair questions. Of course, there's some exception to that, as you see the United States leadership and the diplomatic team of the Vice President, Secretary of State, and also other cabinet members, along with, in the distance there, I think I see the great White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, who is just knocking it out of the park, batting 1,000 against the deep staters and the fake news alike to make America safe, strong, healthy, and great again. So usually when they sit down, that means that just around the bend there, we'll see President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer come out to the podium to discuss the pressing issues that they had talked about earlier over lunch. Of course, if you were watching earlier with us, they started that bilateral meeting in the Oval Office that's located within the West Wing, and that was attended by the Vice President, the Secretary of State, and other cabinet members, as well as the UK diplomatic delegation. Our two nations have shared so much in common. In fact, we once broke away from them to ensure life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, these God-given, inalienable rights, that we are all equal under the law, but something that was inspired way back when in the 13th century with the Magna Carta. And our two nations have really shaped Western democracy and the Western world, two of the most elite and powerful militaries in all of the world, making sure that we bring peace through strength to places like Russia, to Ukraine, and to those who are, seeking freedom and liberty throughout the world. And there you can see our Vice President, J.D. Vance, entering the room, taking his seat there. And isn't it nice to have an approachable Vice President, someone relatable? The left really failed at their messaging in the last campaign with J.D. Vance and, quite frankly, his adorable family. They've been showcasing what it's like to be great millennial leaders on the world stage, and what it's like to not only lead there, but also lead within your household. It's almost as if we have a theologian in chief in our Vice President who talks often of the Norverse Ordem and other thought processes that are not only in the Christian world, but also outside to the Western world and to the rest of global affairs in general, to love your family first, and then also to love your neighbors and to love the world as a whole. And as they're standing now, President Trump with UK Prime Minister Starmer will toss it right there live to the East Room in the White House in Washington, D.C.
Thank you very much. Great honor. Today it's my privilege to welcome the Prime Minister of a very special place, the United Kingdom, to the White House. Prime Minister Starmer, you've been terrific in our discussions. You're a very tough negotiator, however. I'm not sure I like that, but that's okay. Very, very special person. The Prime Minister and I have gotten off to an outstanding start. The U.S. and U.K. have a special relationship, very special, really like no other, passed down through the centuries, and we're going to keep it that way. We're going to keep it very strong as it is. Very importantly, I was just notified by letter from King Charles that he's extended through the Prime Minister a historic second state visit to the United Kingdom. And that's a great honor because it's never happened before. One person has never been extended that honor, and I really do call it an honor, but it's not for me, it's for our country. It's respect for our country. So I just want to thank you, and I want to thank King Charles. Thank you very much, and we accept. I don't know if the media is going to follow us. I have a feeling they might. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm pleased to say that the bust of one of the Prime Minister's greatest predecessors, Winston Churchill, is now back in the rightful place in the Oval Office, and we're very proud of it. Our meeting today and the various breakout sessions we had were tremendously productive. Most importantly, I provided the Prime Minister with an update on our efforts to end the bloody and horrible war in Ukraine with Russia, which would never have happened if I were president. That was not going to happen. I promise you that. After 3 years of hellacious conflict, approximately 1 million Ukrainians and Russians have been senselessly killed, but the number, I believe, is much higher than that. Countless schools, hospitals, towns, and beautiful ancient churches have been absolutely obliterated. To begin the process of ending this spiral of death, I had historic back-to-back calls with President Putin, very successful calls, I might add, and President Zelensky, and my team also spoke with the Secretary General of NATO on numerous occasions, and we're working very hard to get that war brought to an end. I think we've made a lot of progress, and I think it's moving along pretty rapidly. And I want to thank all of the people that are here that have been working on it. And we'll let you know what happens. It'll either be fairly soon or it won't be at all. In addition, this week I met with President Macron of France, as you know, and held talks with members of the G7. Tomorrow, the progress toward peace will continue when President Zelensky visits the White House. He'll be here tomorrow in the early part of the day, and we'll be signing a historic agreement that will make the United States a major partner in developing Ukraine's minerals and rare earths and oil and gases, and we have a great understanding. I think it's going to be great for Ukraine. We're going to be at the site, and we'll be digging. We'll be digging. Dig we must. A big utility in New York contacted us, and they used to have a sign, dig we must, and we will be digging. But much of the European aid to Ukraine has been sent in the form of loans for which they expect to be paid back, and we didn't have that honor under the Biden administration. He sent money, or just sent it money after money after money, and never had any knowledge of ever seeing it back. Maybe $300 to $350 billion, but under the breakthrough agreement, very unusual, which everyone said was difficult to get, but it's really very good for Ukraine and very good for us. The American taxpayers will now effectively be reimbursed for the money and hundreds of billions of dollars poured into helping Ukraine defend itself, which by and of itself is a very worthy thing to do. We've paid far more than any other country, and with most of our support, it's been paid in military, the finest weapons anywhere in the world. This includes vast amounts of military hardware, ammunition, and various other things that we now have to start rebuilding our own stockpiles. Additionally, the minerals agreement will provide the basis for a more sustainable future relationship between the United States and Ukraine, and thus stimulate the long-term prosperity that will help the Ukrainians rebuild their country. It's been demolished. And the ruined infrastructure. The infrastructure, as you know, is in very bad shape. In just over 1 month, our administration has already achieved more progress toward peace than years in the other administration where they did nothing toward peace. They didn't understand what was happening. Our approach is basically common sense. As I said, so many of the things that we do are based on common sense. If you want peace, you have to talk, both sides. As I discussed with Prime Minister Starmer, the next step we're making is toward a very achievable ceasefire. We hope that that can happen quickly because thousands of young people, in this case, we're not talking about Americans, we're talking about Ukrainians and Russians are being killed every week, thousands. And it's a rough battlefield. It's a flat piece of land, and the bullet only stops when it hits somebody. And this week, I saw the reports, and it's I don't even want to say what they are, but thousands of people, young, vibrant people died. And we want to stop that. Senseless. Should have never happened. This will lay the groundwork for a long-term peace agreement that will return stability to Eastern Europe and hopefully ensure that such a terrible war will never happen on European soil or, for that matter, anywhere again. It's a horrible thing that's going on. The disaster in Ukraine shows exactly why it's so important for the United Kingdom and other NATO partners to make large investments in their defense capabilities. In many cases, 4% or 5% of GDP would be appropriate. I know that they're raising it. I just read an article, a great article, about the work you're doing in the UK as to the military. You're raising it quite a bit, which is a great thing to do for your country. It's a great thing to do. It's sad that we need that, but probably need that. So congratulations on that. I know you got it through. After years of chronic underfunding, there's an urgent need to catch up for some countries. And I want to thank the Prime Minister once again for traveling here today. Working together, I believe that will once again demonstrate the power of our country's unique friendship. This is indeed a unique friendship. It's been many years, and I think it's only gotten stronger, and we will make sure that it stays that way. We're going to have a great trade agreement. One way or the other, we're going to end up with a very good trade agreement for both countries, and we're working on that as we speak. I think we'll have the confines. I think we'll have something maybe even in terms of possibilities agreed to very shortly. JD's working on it, Vice President, and Scott, and I'm just looking at this all from Mike. You're going to work on it. Everyone's going to work on it. We'll see if we can do something pretty quickly, but we're going to make some great trade agreements with the UK and with the Prime Minister, and it'll happen very quickly. So I just want to thank you again, and please thank King Charles for the invite, and I look forward to you giving our acceptance on behalf of the United States of America. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your leadership. This has been a very good and very productive visit. And with your family roots in Scotland and your close bond with His Majesty the King, it's good to know that the United Kingdom has a true friend in the Oval Office. And it was so good to see the bust of Winston Churchill back in its rightful place just a moment ago. But look, in a moment of real danger around the world, this relationship matters more than ever. We remain each other's first partner in defence, ready to come to the other's aid, to counter threats wherever and whenever they may arise. No two militaries are more intertwined than ours. No two countries have done more together to keep people safe. And in a few weeks, we mark VE Day, the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe. Britain and America fought side by side to make that happen. One of the greatest moments in our history. We stand side by side still today, and we're focused now on bringing an enduring end to the barbaric war in Ukraine. Mr. President, I welcome your deep and personal commitment to bring peace and to stop the killing. You've created a moment of tremendous opportunity to reach a historic peace deal, a deal that I think would be celebrated in Ukraine and around the world. That is the prize. But we have to get it right. There's a famous slogan in the United Kingdom from after the Second World War. That is that we have to win the peace. And that's what we must do now. Because it can't be peace that rewards the aggressor or that gives encouragement to regimes like Iran. We agree history must be on the side of the peacemaker, not the invader. So the stakes, they couldn't be higher. And we're determined to work together to deliver a good deal. We've discussed a plan today to reach a peace that is tough and fair, that Ukraine will help shape, that's backed by strength, to stop Putin coming back for more. Now, I'm working closely with other European leaders on this, and I'm clear that the UK is ready to put boots on the ground and planes in the air to support a deal, working together with our allies, because that is the only way that peace will last. Mr. President, in this new era, you're also right that Europe must step up. And let me tell you now, I see the growing threats we face, and so the UK is all in. This year we'll be giving more military aid to Ukraine than ever, and just this week I've set out how we're shouldering more of the security burden. We're already one of the biggest spenders in NATO, and now we're going much further, delivering Britain's biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War. This isn't just talk, it's action, rebalancing the transatlantic alliance, making us all stronger, and standing up for our shared values and shared security, as Britain always has. And Mr. President, it's no secret we're from different political traditions, but there's a lot that we have in common. We believe it's not taking part that counts. What counts is winning. If you don't win, you don't deliver. And we're determined to deliver for the working people of Britain and America, who want and deserve to see their lives improve. So we're both in a hurry to get things done, and that's what the UK and US do when we work together. We win and we get things done. So we'll do what it takes to keep our people safe. We'll also work together to deliver some big economic wins that can benefit us both. We have a $1.5 trillion invested in each other's economies, creating over 2.5 million jobs across both economies. Our trading relationship is not just strong, it's fair, balanced and reciprocal. We're leaders together in so many areas, ranked 1 and 2 in the world as investment destinations, 1 and 2 for universities, 1 and 2 for Nobel Prizes, 1 and 2 in golf as well, by the way. And we're the only 2 Western countries with trillion-dollar tech sectors, leaders in AI. And look, we take a similar approach on this issue. Instead of over-regulating these new technologies, we're seizing the opportunities that they offer. So we've decided today to go further, to begin work on a new economic deal with advanced technology at its core. Look, our 2 nations together shaped the great technological innovations of the last century. We have a chance now to do the same for the 21st century. I mean, artificial intelligence could cure cancer. That could be a moonshot for our age. And that's how we'll keep delivering for our people. There are so many opportunities. Keep our nation strong and fulfill the promise of greatness that has always defined this relationship. Finally, to underline the importance of this bond, it was my privilege and honour to bring a letter with me today from His Majesty the King. not only sending his best wishes, but also inviting the President and the First Lady to make a state visit to the United Kingdom. An unprecedented second state visit. This has never happened before. It's so incredible, it will be historic. And I'm delighted that I can go back to His Majesty the King and tell him that President Trump has accepted the invitation. So thank you. Our teams will now work together to set a date, and we look forward to welcome you in the United Kingdom. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. What a beautiful accent. I would have been president 20 years ago if I had that accent. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier today, you told me that you believe that foreign countries pay tariffs, but Americans who are concerned about higher prices believe, as most people do, that they're paid by consumers and importers when they import things into this country. Can you explain how you came to this belief that foreign governments are paying tariffs? And for the Prime Minister, did you discuss with President Trump his repeated statements of desire to annex Canada? And has the King expressed any concern over the President's apparent desire to remove one of his realms from his control?
So I'll go ahead. The first part, the tariffs are necessary because we've been treated very unfairly by many, many countries, including our friends, friend and foe. But we've been treated very unfairly in trade at levels that nobody's really ever seen before, and especially under the Biden administration, they really took advantage of the United States. I put massive tariffs on China during my 4 years. We had the best economy in the history of our country. Probably the best economy, maybe the best economy in the history of the world. And I used tariffs to even things up. And in particular with China, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars and we had no inflation. And it's a myth. It's a myth that's put out there by foreign countries that really don't like paying tariffs, and especially to even up. So we've been treated badly by a lot. We're using tariffs. And I find, and you just have to look at the numbers, but I find that it's not about inflation. It's about fairness, and the inflation for us has not existed, and I don't think it's going to exist. We're going to bring our car industry back. We're going to bring our chips back. We're going to bring so many things back to our country, including pharmaceuticals and drugs. And the thing that's going to get us there is tariffs. And I say often it's my favorite word in the dictionary, but I always preface that by saying now, because I got into a lot of trouble with the fake news where they say that's not good. So I say God, love, family, wife. They're all my favorite words, but tariff is about number 4 or 5 on the list. But I will tell you, it's going to make our country rich, and it's going to stop us from being a laughing stock all over the world. Because we have been taken advantage of like no country has ever been taken advantage of. Thank you very much. And
look, we had a really good discussion, a productive discussion, a good discussion, as a result of which our teams are now going to be working together on an economic deal. Our teams are going to be working together on security in Ukraine. You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't discuss Canada.
Thank you. Please. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. Thank you.
Hi, Natasha Clark from LBC. Mr. President, you've said you're working on a new trade deal with Britain, which we of course welcome. President Obama once said Britain was at the back of the queue for that trade deal. Where are we now? When do you think we're going to see that? And Prime Minister, the BBC has today admitted serious flaws over the recent Gaza coverage, suggestions of payments made to people linked to Hamas. Does the BBC still have your trust? Thank you.
Well, they didn't do well with President Obama. He'd never got a lot of things done. And he didn't get a trade deal done that was of any importance or magnitude. We've had great discussions on trade, and I think we're going to have a deal done rather quickly as it can be done. We're going to have something, I think, rather quickly. We expect to do that. Okay? Please.
On the BBC, look, I've been concerned about the programme in question. The Secretary of State had a meeting with the BBC. I think it was yesterday, it could have been the day before. Thank you.
Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Pardon me. Mr. President, do you support Article 5 of the NATO treaty? And are you concerned that it might be triggered if European peacekeeping forces end up in Ukraine?
I support it. I don't think we're going to have any reason for it. I think we're going to have a very successful peace, and I think it's going to be a long-lasting peace. And I think it's going to happen hopefully quickly. If it doesn't happen quickly, it may not happen at all. And we want it for two reasons. Number one, I want to see on a humane basis, I want to see soldiers stop getting shot, because largely it's soldiers now. Towns have been obliterated, but it's largely that. And I don't want to pay billions and billions and billions of dollars, nor does the Prime Minister or anybody else, on a senseless war that should have never happened. And we're going to get it taken care of. But I think it's going to be a peace that's going to be long-lasting. Do you have a question for the Prime Minister?
Thank you. Mr. Prime Minister, you were asking the President today about a backstop for Europe if the peacekeeping force ends up in Ukraine. Did you feel like you got a satisfying answer for yourself and for Europe? And Mr. President, if you want to comment on that as well, please do.
I felt we had a very productive discussion. Obviously, as the President says, the deal has to come first. But yes, our teams are going to be talking about how we make sure that deal sticks, is lasting and enforced. So our teams will be talking about that.
Okay. Please, Blue.
Mr. President, some experts think it could take more than a decade to mine the precious minerals from Ukraine. How much should the U.S. expect to receive, and when do you expect to see that come to fruition?
Well, we're never going to know that answer, but by our being in Ukraine and doing the exploration and also the digging and taking the rare earth, which we need in our country very badly, we'll be doing a substantial amount of work, probably about at least what we have in there, and we hope to be able to do that. You never know when it comes to that. You know, you dig and maybe things aren't there like you think they're there, but we'll be spending a lot of time there. It'll be great for Ukraine. It's like a huge economic development project, so it'll be good for both countries. Okay? Please.
Prime Minister, excuse me, Prime Minister, you've talked about putting British soldiers' boots on the ground in Ukraine in the event that President Trump succeeds with his peace deal. But can you do that without a firm assurance that America will have our back in the form of some kind of security guarantee were Putin to breach that agreement? And, Mr. President, tomorrow you're seeing President Zelensky to sign this deal on minerals and energy that could be hugely important to the United States. Will you take the opportunity to apologize to him for calling him a dictator while praising Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator?
Well, Robert, let me start by saying I've been really clear today and previously that I think that European countries, including the United Kingdom, need to step up in our own defence and security. We've been doing that in recent days. You saw the announcement we made on spending just the other day. In addition to that, I've made it clear that the United Kingdom will play its full part in ensuring that if there's a deal, and we hope there is a deal in Ukraine, that is a lasting deal that sticks. And we're obviously working with other European countries on that, France and NATO in particular. But I think I'm hosting 18 countries on Sunday to further our discussions. You heard from the President this morning that, you know, as historically has always been the case, we have each other's backs. And today we've been talking about the deal, how that will be a lasting deal. And coming out of this, our teams will now be talking in detail about that.
And I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow, 11 o'clock. And I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow morning. We're going to get along really well. Okay? We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for him. We've given them a lot of equipment and a lot of money, but they have fought very bravely, no matter how you figure it. They have really fought. Somebody has to use that equipment, and they have been very brave in that sense. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Ceasefire deal is nearing an end this Saturday, and there's been some worry that Phase 2 might never get there. Do you believe that Phase 2 of the ceasefire in Gaza will come to fruition? And have you spoken to Netanyahu about it? And for the Prime Minister, this peacekeeping deal has been pushed forward by the UK and France as well. Have you been in discussions with any other European countries to join this initiative? And are you expecting Commonwealth countries to also join the effort? Thank you.
So we're working very hard in the Middle East and Gaza and all of the problems, and it's been going on for years and years and centuries and centuries. It's a tough neighborhood, but it could be a very beautiful neighborhood, and I think we're going to come up with some pretty good solutions. But Phase 1 is almost complete. We've had some people that have been very seriously injured, very seriously hurt, both physically and mentally. They've come out of there very, very, and some of them in very, very bad shape. It's shocking. Many young people aren't in bad shape. Young people are strong, healthy. They don't die. People have come out dead, young people and old people. It's a rough situation, but I think we're going to make it much better, and I think that we've had a huge impact on that since we've been in just the 4 weeks. I think we've had a huge impact on Gaza, the Middle East, and we have some pretty good talks going on concerning lots of other people that are going to make it better. So we'll see what happens. Nobody really knows, but we'll see what happens. But I think we've had a very positive impact. Prime Minister?
Yeah, on the question of the European countries, yes, I've spoken to a number of countries, particularly in the last few weeks. We had a meeting in Paris last week. I've got a meeting on Sunday with 18 countries to further our discussions. Obviously, we've been talking quite intensely to our French colleagues and to NATO, but to other countries as well, because, as I say, I think it's important for European countries, including the United Kingdom, to step up and do more in the defence and security of Europe and our continent and the United Kingdom, and we'll do so. Well, we're talking to a number of other countries.
Thank you. Yes, in the red, please. Pink red, flaming red.
Is it me or her?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. A question on Ukraine. Number one is, if you're not considering the security guarantees, are you open to other forms of, for example, intelligence cooperation with Ukraine? And Mr. Prime Minister, President Trump has proposed a plan for Gaza. Does this fit into the two-state solution that the UK held for a long time? Do you see it fit into your general Middle Eastern strategy? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're open to many things, but before I even think about that, that's almost pleasant to think about because that would mean that peace has been arrived at. We have to arrive at that peace. And, you know, you went 3.5 years with an administration that never even really had a meeting. They didn't have a meeting on peace. And there was no prospect of peace. I think, frankly, Russia wanted to go through the whole long deal. I don't think they do anymore. I don't think they do. We had a very big impact on that whole situation. But I don't like talking about Phase 2 until I get Phase 1. Phase 1 is I have to make peace. And we have to get Russia to agree. We have to get Ukraine to agree. And I think we will. I think we've come a long way. I believe we're going to get it done. I wouldn't say that if I didn't think so. And I think it will be very important, very historic, and we're going to save a lot of lives.
On the question of Gaza, the last few weeks of the ceasefire have been very impactful. And for me, there are two images that I remember more than any other. The first is Emily Damari, who is British, being reunited with her mother. You may remember she had her fingers missing after what she endured. That was an incredible moment. I'd spent a lot of time with her mother whilst she was held captive, and her mother went through absolute torture. The other image was thousands of Palestinians marching through rubble, trying to return to their communities and their homes. So we have to do everything we can to ensure that the ceasefire continues, so that more hostages can be returned, so that aid can be brought in that's desperately needed. We need to allow Palestinians to return and to rebuild their lives, and we must all support them in doing that. And yes, I believe that the two-state solution is ultimately the only way for a lasting peace in the region.
And think of that. She came home with her fingers and part of her hand blown off.
That's terrible.
How bad does it get? And we had others that came home in much worse shape than that.
Yeah.
It's a terrible situation. Please, yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, did our Prime Minister persuade you not to put tariffs on the UK? And if I may, Prime Minister, do you think that Vladimir Putin is a man who will keep his word? Thanks.
He tried. He was working hard, I'll tell you that. He earned whatever the hell they pay him over there. But he tried. I think there's a very good chance that in the case of these two great friendly countries, I think we could very well end up with a real trade deal where the tariffs wouldn't be necessary. We'll see. But he earned whatever they pay him. He earned today. He was working hard at lunch, and I'm very receptive to it. I think in all fairness, in all seriousness, I think we have a very good chance at arriving at a very good deal. JD and Scott and Howard, all the people are working on it, and I think we have a good chance at arriving at a deal that could be terrific, really terrific for both countries. Okay? Thank you.
On the second part of the question, I think my views on Putin are pretty well rehearsed and pretty well known, and my concern is that if there's a deal, and I hope there is a deal, that it must be a lasting deal, that it's not a temporary measure, and that is why I think it's really important that Putin knows that this deal, a historic deal, which I very much hope comes about, is there, and it's a lasting deal, and that we're able to deal with any inclination he has to go again or go further.
I think we'll have two deals. I think we'll have a deal on ending the war, and I think we're going to end up with a great trade deal with you. And it's an honor to be with you, and I want to thank everybody very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer having a relatively quick press conference, really highlighting on those national security threats that combine these two leaders and really unite them when it comes to Israel and Gaza, and also what's taking place in Ukraine and Russia as well, with some differences in how to approach each and every aspect, but clearly united. With the fact that these two great partners and friends across the pond have been together on so many different world stages combating extremism all around the world. So that wraps that up, and we look forward to tomorrow as well, when President Trump will meet with